Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm today a retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and in this video we're going to look at another rendition of Cinderella. So this is the Egyptian Cinderella by Shirley Climo, maybe pronouncing that wrong, and Ruth Heller. This is an interesting little story. So this is one of the various Cinderella tales. This is one of the older Cinderella tales, and as opposed to some other ones, this actually has some base in fact. So in this book, you have the tale of a young girl who is kidnapped as a child from Greece and by pirates, and she's sold into slavery. And she looks very, very different. Well, this is like from the other servant girls. And her master is kind, but he's old, so he's sleeping frequently. So the story tells that the household servants, who are technically above her, she is a slave, tell her what to do incessantly. They pretty much order her around. So in this, they take the place of the evil stepsisters in the European versions. And in this tale, her master sees her dancing one evening. And so, obviously, she's barefoot because she's a slave. So he makes her a pair of slippers that are made, the soles are real leather, the toes were gilded with rose red gold. And Ruftidius, I'm mispronouncing that, which basically means rose cheek because she's pale as compared to the Egyptian girls. She would dance in these and her feet would sparkle. So the chief among the servant girls says one day that they will sail to Memphis to see the pharaoh. And they pretty much tell her, you can't come, you have things to do. Similar to the European tale where the girls are going off to the stepsisters are going off to the ball, and basically they give her tasks to do. So these girls, they go off and to see the pharaoh. And meanwhile, while she is home, a falcon comes, yes, the falcon in this story. The illustrations are very, very beautiful. And steals one of her slippers. And basically she refers to him as Horus, because Horus is one of the Egyptian gods who normally comes in the form of a falcon, or a human with a falcon head, Egyptians. So he steals one of her slippers. So she's basically dancing around with one slipper. She tries to call them back, but again, the falcon flies off. So meanwhile, the falcon goes to Memphis. And the king is kind of bored. He prefers riding his chariot to sitting around being waited on, sitting on the throne. So the falcon shows up and drops this shoe in his lap. And per Egyptians, he basically says, whoever can fit this slipper shall be my queen, so says the will of the gods. Because again, it was a falcon who dropped it in his lap. So he declares that he's going to go off and see if he can find, sorry, I have a cat in my lap here, whoever can fit this slipper. So he goes off. Kendra, do not bite me. Vicious calico. Briefly show the vicious calico. That's the vicious calico. We're gone. Back to the book. We see what actually is biting me. Okay, so the servant girls arrive, and the pharaoh and his entourage are gone. So they're pissed off because they don't get to see the pharaoh. No idea where the heck their master is, but nonetheless. So he's off searching everywhere for whoever can fit this shoe. Remnants of other Cinderella tales, minus a whole ball thing. So eventually he shows up along the River Nile and he says, who can fit this shoe? Now, obviously the other servant girls know who it belongs to, but they want to try it on anyway because they're convinced, like, well, if it will fit us, we can be queen. But obviously it doesn't. And before he leaves, he sees this slave girl peeking through the reeds, like, you come here, put this on. And she comes, it fits, she produces the other shoe, and she's going to become queen. And they're like, she can't do that. She's a slave. He's like, yep, doesn't matter. She goes and goes off and becomes queen. So The back of the book, which is kind of interesting, the author has an author's note and tells that part of this tale is in fact true. This woman did exist. She was Greek. She was kidnapped. She was sold into slavery first to one man, and then she was sold into a Greek man. She explains a little bit about society in Egypt at the time, I believe. 570 to 526 BC. So that's kind of when she was, the king that she marries is reigning. So she was kidnapped. She was sold into slavery, sold to one man. He sold her to another man. This man specifically relished gifts upon her. She was a favored servant. She was a favored slave. So she was actually, in many ways, why technically she was a slave, and below these servants she was treated better because they were living in mud huts. And she did, in fact, marry the king. She was a Greek slave who married the king. I believe his name was, Masis. Yeah, she puts the pronunciations in the back of this. So she basically, the Greek slave girl named Rhodopeus, married the pharaoh and became queen. Now the shoes are kind of, it's possible, because they did, apparently the Egyptians would mix iron with gold, apparently, according to this author's note, and they could create rose gold, which is something that exists. But I believe she says in various tales, she uses a falcon. Some people use a, let's see, an eagle or something. Yeah. Some sort of bird. But again, this is the tale of the Egyptian Cinderella. But again, it's loosely based on events that happened. A Greek girl did eventually become queen in Egypt. So it's a beautifully done book. It's a different twist on various Cinderella tales. I like to step out of the box and look at things besides the European tales. So this is a good representation of how Egypt does it. This is also a very old tale. So this is from a long time ago. Apparently when she was in her second master's home, one of her fellow slaves was Aesop. And if you're familiar with who I'm talking about, the guy who wrote Aesop's Fables. So, and various different tales of animals. So that was the time period. So she was remembered. Obviously, she was a Greek girl who became queen. She was a slave. So it's a wonderful tale. I like the history behind it. So it's kind of cool that this is kind of the Cinderella tales, this is one that's more true to life. And it gives a different kind of twist, because there's no ball in this one. It's the bird steals a shoe and gives it to the king. In this case, the pharaoh. Same thing. So, and it wasn't any stepsisters or anything. It was just other servants. So, different twist. Wonderful book. Highly recommend it, particularly if you're looking for different twists on the standard Cinderella tale. So that's it for this review. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I do a lot of things. I've done a couple various Cinderella adaptations, done some of the films as well. I have princess stuff planned for early next year because I'm covering the Princess Diaries, along with a bunch of other princess-related films and media. Along with that, I do a variety of other fictional books, children's books, various different films, nothing recent, just because I have a small child, so getting out of the house is difficult. And we've had a pandemic going on the last couple of years. It's difficult to get out. So be sure to check out that channel, like and subscribe, see what I've got. Thank you.